Good afternoon. Welcome to High Tea at Old South Church. My name is Ngoepe and I'm a pastoral resident at Old South. Today I'll be speaking to you about spiritual practices. I imagine for all of us, we find ourselves in some kind of unraveling, a sudden, unexpected uprooting, experiencing losses that we can't even begin to name, losses of structure, of routine, of certain freedoms, many losses. And yet here we are at our homes, at work, or wherever we find ourselves at this time. Here we are reimagining a new reality, living into a new reality, creating new rituals, and figuring out what a shifting normalcy looks like. And so, as Catherine reminded us on Tuesday, that it can be really helpful to have something familiar during this time that offers you some comfort and support. And so today, I just wanted us to reflect on some of those practices and rituals that offer us sustenance and that nourish us. These practices can be small or big, practices that just move us moment to moment or day to day, whatever it is that we need. And so one of the ways we can think about approaching our practices is reflecting on practices that have been passed down to us from our friends, our families, our communities, practices that we have embarked on in the past, and maybe might want to revisit at this time, I don't know. Practices that are currently ongoing, that we might feel we need to stop, but maybe some of those we need to intentionally continue. And finally, I think there's an opportunity to explore new practices that might help us deal with this new reality. And so maybe one of these new practices for you could be pausing to have tea at 4 p.m. and joining us in our programming. I remember I was in Kenya once and I stayed with our family, and every day at 4 p.m. we would stop everything we're doing to have tea, and we'd have tea with popcorn or peanuts or fruits. But I remember being in an unfamiliar country, and this one ritual practice that happened every day, I really looked forward to, and it served to really re-ground me. And so I invite us to reflect on that. And I'll share some of my own personal practices that I'm in different relationships with at this point. But one is I'm from South Africa, and we drink a lot of tea in South Africa. And so for me, having a cup of tea and milk is very soothing and very comforting in these times. I'm currently drinking this tea from Kenya. I love exploring African teas. Another thing I found myself doing this week is humming African hymns that have been passed down from my grandfather. And so I'm intentionally thinking about singing some more African hymns during this time. I'll be continuing my journaling practice. This is my journal. It's kind of halfway or a third way through. So I try to journal in the mornings, and sometimes I have a book that I use to help me reflect, but sometimes I freeform journal. And one new thing I want to explore is reading this Bible. It's in my native language, and so it takes me a bit longer to read because I didn't really learn how to read in my native language. yeah, so those are some of the things that I'm thinking about. And so I invite you in this time to ponder, reflect on, think about some practices that might be helpful for you. Maybe it's singing, dancing, meditating, praying, writing songs, looking at photography, painting your nails. I don't know what that looks like for you. But I invite you in this time to lean in, listen for, and reflect on some practices that might get you through this time. Whatever you need, moment to moment, day to day. Thank you for joining us today, and I look forward to connecting with you again.